Ruth Langsford and Eamonn Holmes have always been one of the most familiar pairs on British television. Their blend of sharp humor, heartfelt honesty, and unmistakable chemistry made viewers feel as if they were welcoming two old friends into their living rooms. For decades, audiences watched them share stories, laughter, gentle debates, and moments of relatable chaos that made their presence feel comforting and real. But then, something changed. Not dramatically, not suddenly, just small shifts that attentive fans immediately noticed. A quieter energy during interviews, a tired smile here and there, a sense that something important was happening behind the scenes. Social media began asking questions, clips were replayed, speculation grew louder and louder. And through all of it, Ruth and Eamonn stayed silent. Until now. Today, the pair finally stepped forward with an urgent personal update, one that wasn't tragic, one that wasn't dramatic for the sake of drama, but one that came straight from the heart. Their message surprised viewers not because it was shocking in content, but because of the vulnerability behind it. They shared that life had been shifting in ways they hadn't expected. Work schedules had collided with personal responsibilities. Family matters needed more attention. Everyday pressures had piled up quietly, little by little, until both realized they needed to pause, breathe, and speak honestly about where they stood. Ruth began by acknowledging what many fans had sensed for months, that they had been stretched thin. She explained that between long filming days, constant travel, and the simple demands of everyday life, they had reached a point where they needed to reorganize and prioritize what truly mattered. She spoke with the kind of calm strength people admire her for, thoughtful, steady, clear. But leave it to Eamonn to break the tension with a perfectly timed joke. He playfully said that he'd been trying to convince Ruth to go on holiday somewhere warm, quiet, and far away from production deadlines, but she was still deciding whether he could be trusted not to spend a whole time reading the news aloud. The joke instantly lightened the mood, reminding everyone that even in stressful times, their dynamic remained as lively as ever. Yet beneath the humor lay a deeper truth. They both admitted they had been feeling overwhelmed by the sheer pace of their lives, and the realization didn't come with fear, it came with clarity. Ruth explained that they had reached a moment where they needed to slow down, refocus, and reconnect with the parts of life that often get lost in the rush of television schedules. Not stepping away entirely, not retreating from the world, just adjusting, realigning, and making room for balance. What made their update so powerful wasn't the message itself, but the honesty behind it. Eamonn, known for his straightforward charm, shared that he had been feeling the strain more than he liked to admit. He described moments where he felt mentally stretched, physically drained, and pressured by expectations that he kept trying to meet without pause. But he said it in a way only he could, half sincere, half humorous, joking that if there were awards for stubbornness, he'd win every year. Ruth laughed at that, adding that she had been telling him for years to slow down, but he always acted like rest was optional instead of essential. Their playful banter softened the weight of their message, showing the resilience of their connection even in difficult periods. What struck fans most was the tenderness behind their words, not dramatic romance, but real, grounded warmth, the kind that grows from years of understanding each other's strengths, weaknesses, and quirks, the kind of bond that feels familiar, steady, human. They spoke about how hectic life had become, how personal needs often went unnoticed because they were too busy taking care of everything and everyone else, how easy it is to forget to check in with yourself when you're constantly moving forward. Ruth shared that she had been feeling the emotional weight of it all. Even strong people, she said, need rest. Even calm, composed individuals have moments when their hearts feel heavy. She wasn't ashamed to admit it. In fact, she said it with pride, because acknowledging your limits isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Eamonn nodded in agreement, playfully claiming that he was now taking Ruth's advice almost seriously. Their humor, woven through every emotional moment, kept the conversation warm, human, and beautifully relatable. Fans responded instantly. Messages of support flooded in. People thanked them for being honest. Others said they related deeply. They too felt overwhelmed by their own lives, responsibilities, and expectations. Ruth and Eamonn's update didn't just clear the air, it touched people in a way they hadn't expected. They didn't portray themselves as victims of stress, they portrayed themselves as people. People who laugh, stumble, cry, recover, and keep going. People who understand that life requires balance, boundaries, and moments of stillness. As they continued sharing, the emotion in their story grew richer, not sad, not frightening, but deeply moving. They reflected on how much their audience meant to them, how grateful they felt for years of loyalty, kindness, and connection, and how important it was for them to be transparent with the people who supported them for so long. But they also made one thing absolutely clear. They're not stepping back because something terrible had happened. They're stepping back because they wanted to be better, healthier, lighter, more present. Eamonn jokingly added that he planned to use some of their new free time to learn a new hobby, though Ruth immediately warned him that buying strange gadgets from late-night ads did not count as a hobby. Fans loved the moment. It felt like glimpsing a real conversation between two people who know each other better than anyone else. Their personal update wasn't tragic, it wasn't alarming, it was real. And realness is sometimes the most shocking thing celebrities can share. By the end of their message, fans felt closer to them than ever. Their honesty created a bridge, connecting two public figures with the audience who grew up watching them. People admired them not just for their careers, but for their humanity. As they closed their update, Ruth offered a gentle, heartfelt reminder that it's okay to pause, that life doesn't have to be lived at full speed, that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is recognize your own limits. Eamonn, of course, added one last playful note. He joked that after all this, he expected fans to send him tea, biscuits, and maybe a holiday voucher if they were feeling generous. Ruth rolled her eyes affectionately, reminding everyone once again why their partnership was so beloved. And then, together, they promised something simple yet meaningful. They're not disappearing, they're not breaking apart, they're simply taking a breath, a necessary, overdue breath. Fans weren't just stunned, they were moved. Because sometimes the most urgent news is the reminder that even the strongest people need time to reset. As Ruth and Eamonn step into this new chapter, the world watches with admiration, ready to support them, ready to celebrate them, and ready to welcome them back with open arms, whenever they choose.